So, back in 2006, my father was living in Kazakhstan. At the time, he was the managing director of his company in the country. One evening, he went out to a bar with a work friend to relax after a long day. Everything seemed normal. A quiet night, just drinks and conversation. But then, out of nowhere, this tall, muscular Russian guy walked into the bar. He looked intimidating, the kind of guy you'd think twice about messing with. Instead of finding an empty stool, he walked up to a chair where a small woman was sitting, grabbed her and literally threw her off the chair. He shouted, "I want that chair!" My dad saw this and couldn't just sit back. He stood up and said, "Hey man, what the fuck are you doing?" The Russian guy turned to him, clearly angry, and said, "I'm going to kick the shit out of you when you leave this bar." My dad, trying to keep calm, brushed it off and went back to his seat. But then he noticed something that made him uneasy. The Russian guy wasn't alone. 4 of his friends joined him inside the bar, and another 4 were waiting outside. At this point, my dad knew things could escalate quickly. So he decided to call the head of security, HOS, for his company. Now, being the managing director had its perks. He had access to resources most people didn't. The HOS told him, "Stay at the bar. I'll handle it." So my dad and his work friend stayed put, trying to act normal while they waited. They ordered a couple of drinks, but the tension was thick. About 20 minutes later, the bar doors opened, and in walked 30 bodyguards. Yes, 30. These weren't just any bodyguards. They were all armed, with pistols clearly visible under their jackets. They immediately formed 2 lines, creating a protective corridor from my dad's seat to the exit. It was like something out of an action movie. The Russian guy and his friends, they didn't say a word. They just froze. The head of security walked up to my dad and said, "Let's go." My dad stood up and walked through the human wall of bodyguards, straight to the exit. But that wasn't the end of it. Outside, there were 2 black BMWs waiting to escort him home. The bodyguards got him to his car, and the BMWs followed behind as a protective convoy. Later, my dad told me that the temptation to flip off the Russian guys as he left was strong, but he decided not to push his luck. Smart decision, honestly. It's not the craziest story in the world, but hearing my dad tell it made it feel like something straight out of a movie. Just another day in Kazakhstan, I guess. Sometimes it's not about being the strongest, it's about having the right connections. And my dad, he definitely had those.